With the global pandemic, a lot of colleges and universities have gone test optional. But before you go closing that test prep book and kicking up your feet, know that your scores may still be a deciding factor in a college application. In some cases, your scores can give you an edge, in others, they're almost required. In this video, we'll be reviewing when not taking the test can help or hurt. Hi, I'm Sebastian from Streamline Tutors, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you the scoop on what test optional really means for you. I'm going to be telling you what admissions officers and guidance counselors won't. Test optional means you choose whether or not to submit your scores. The SAT and ACT are not required for admission. This is different from a test blind policy. Test blind means your scores won't be considered at all, even if you do submit your scores. Keep in mind that test optional does not mean easier to get in. Here are some things to consider before you decide not to take the SAT or ACT. If you're trying to get into one of the top schools in the nation, you've got to do whatever it takes to stand out, including ace your test. Now that things are test optional, these highly competitive schools have to decide who to accept with less information. Submitting your scores gives admissions the full picture, which can separate you from the pack. If your SAT or ACT scores do not reflect your academic capabilities, you might be better off not submitting your scores. A good rule of thumb is to check the scores in the 50th percentile for accepted students from your colleges. Ideally, your school should fall at or above this range to be a competitive applicant. On the other hand, if your scores are a testimony to what you can do, taking the test and submitting your scores is a great idea. Your scores can boost your application. If you choose not to take the test, the other parts of your application will be scrutinized even more. Your extracurricular activities, GPA, course rigor, and letters of recommendation. If your application is strong, a good score can boost your application. If your application isn't so strong in some areas, a great score can help make up for it. On the other end, weaker scores can take away from a strong application. Some schools were test optional before the pandemic. Some are only test optional because they have to be. Historically, test optional colleges likely have a better grasp on evaluating a student's application with test scores. Newly test optional schools that have relied on SAT or ACT for years are probably not as good at determining the quality of a student's application. They're more likely to factor in the test scores of students who submit them. Keep in mind that even historically test optional schools like Bowdoin College have accepted students who submit scores at similar rates to students who don't submit scores. In most cases, it still benefits you to take the test. Remember, you always have the option to not submit your scores if you don't like them, so what would it hurt? With new test optional policies, the SAT and ACT are still an important factor in the college admissions process. But it's up to you to decide whether to take the test. Good luck! Make sure to subscribe to our channel or sign up for newsletters down below for more helpful information on the SAT and ACT.